welcome to GDB World. Today we'll be taking a look at how we can create a procedural UI button in Substance Designer. It's a great method when you're short on a budget but need a lot of variations of something. Say you need to make a bunch of emblems or achievement images. In today's example we'll be seeing the building blocks required for a simple stylized button with a faked cel shaded lighting effect. It comes with 3 optional inputs for grayscale bitmaps, one for the button base, one for the border, and one for the button engraving. This allows you to use a generator with any grayscale images, which might be something made from Photoshop or something you found on the internet. This is helpful for concepting different variations quickly and ensures each variation is consistent with its quality. And with that, we're going to jump in and have a look to see how we can make it. First we start by creating the base for 2 of the 3 core elements, them being the UI border and the main button shape. We aren't worried about making all the different variations at this stage, as it's more just to get a basic shape to build the colouring off, but we do want to make sure we are ending each segment with a multi-switch grayscale, which will be exposed at the completion of the graph. Currently I'm using the shape mapper, so a non-uniform blur, and followed by a curve node just to give it a bit of a bevel. And the base shape has been created here. It's just going to be a simple circle, and then we're going to follow it up with a non-uniform blur to round it off. We're then subtracting the border from the base shape and applying a linear gradient. Next we're blending the border of the main shape, this time with an add linear dodge or a min lighten. Just adjusting some values here. I wanted to have it sort of extrude out of the shape but sort of also be cut off. Gives it sort of a unique effect to it. Once we're happy with the silhouette, it's time to make the base noise for the UI. This is to give the color map more values to work with and drive the physical attributes of the button. In my case, I was visualizing a welded metal or orb rock appearance, so I created this wavy noise. You can make multiple of these types of noises if you're not like 100% sure what you're going for. Just remember to place a multi-switch at the end of the noise before the blending stage so that you can switch between them. At the moment I've just taken a square, I've cut it in half, and then I'm warping it with a wave sort of shape. And then I'm able to blend in my gradient to the shape itself just to ensure I have some different values when I come into using the tile sampler. And then we're also going to be using the vector map displacement just to make the shapes spawn, like protrude outwards from each other, so we get a bit of like an overlay effect. Then we're just blurring the noise with a non-uniform blur and a HQ blur node. This just gives a bit of volume and softens the edges for us. Then we're using a directional warp to warp the noise of the original shape to help it conform to the edges a little bit better. This one just gets done with a min darken. And then we're using a max lighten to apply the original shape over the top, just to make sure we retain as much of the original height as possible. We can finish up some framing, and then we can move on to the third and final element, which is the indentation part of it. So the indentation I was doing was a play button, and I'm just using a normal shape node, which is a square, rotate it 45 degrees, and then we're blending it together with a tile generator with a luminance of 1. This is just to give us a gradient banding that will blur in to add a bit more interest to the values and allow the color map to flow a little bit better from light to dark, essentially, but in a more of a random sense. Just using a Transform 2D to resize it. I'm just going to make sure we set the tiling so that it's on absolute, so it doesn't actually tile anything. And then we're using non-uniform blur to add that volume back in, and then a curve node to manipulate the way we want the values to sort of warp. And finally, we're just using another directional warp, and we're just warping it for purl and noise. And by doing this, it just breaks up the shape a little bit, so it's not so perfect, and it looks like it's been beaten up with a hammer sort of thing, since it matches the sort of aesthetic that it's going for. And finally, we just create a histogram scan just to create a little mask that's just going to be used with the diffuse. And then we can finally blend in our indentation with the original shape. It was a bit big here, so I had to resize it, so I'm just doing that now. And I've just created an ambient occlusion, which will then be used to create a shadows node. And we start with doing our coloring. Another shadows node, this time for the opposite direction, and then we blend those two together. This is essentially the base for how we're going to fake the cell shaded look. And I've got a HSL node that's just used for adjusting the values quickly, and allows you to sort of change your whole color palette at a flash sort of thing. Sure you remember you put in a gradient node here, otherwise you can't blend the two together, because obviously two color inputs need to be merged together. You can't be grayscale and color. And then I'm just doing the coloring for the indentation, so this one's just going to be purple. And then we're blending those two together. And I'm putting another HSL just in between, just so that we can adjust those values better. Finally, I'm just creating another mask for the button itself, and then just pumping it to the opacity mask output of the blend node. Then we're creating a histogram scan, so this is how we create the cell shaded look.
and we pump that into the mask output for the blend node, and what that does is it gives us nice harsh shadows instead of soft shadows.
After that, you're essentially done. You can just adjust the values till you get something exactly to your liking, and then go ahead and expose and attach the different variations of the shapes to our multi-selection or multi-switch nodes that we've got there in the graph. If you have any questions, leave a comment, make sure you like and subscribe, and otherwise, thank you so much for watching.